The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, that is NELFUND, has finalized plans to disburse a total of 35 billion naira in fees and monthly keep-up allowances to about 70,000 successful applicants who have already been approved for their loan applications. And joining me now to discuss, bring more light towards the Student Loan Act that has been, introduced and the sustainability plan regarding the Student Loan Act. I am joined now by a public affairs analyst, Dr. Femi Epebinu. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us on Business Daily this morning.
Thank you very much, Chiamaka. I'm honored to be here again today.
Thank you again, Doctor. Doctor, you have heard from Nigerians regarding their perspective on what or how they feel about, the Student Loan Act. However, we would like to hear from you. You are an educator. You are also public affairs analyst. But what is your take, on this entire plan and the major concern of most Nigerians? That is, how sustainable do you believe this act or this plan will be in the long run?
Okay, so thank you very much again. And I want to say good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, Nigerian students. Two things you asking me. My take and how sustainable this could be. Now, my take to begin is, the federal government has said that they want to give out loans to students. It's not something that is new. It's not something that, even though our generation might be hearing that for the first time, the generation where myself and people that are younger belong to, it might be something new. But we've read in history that is a policy that have been initiated in this nation before now, but it wasn't sustained. And we have read that, across the world, especially in the United States, they do give out loans, although with interest, and it's been a challenge to them as a nation. Now, coming here to us as a people in Nigeria, I have my fears. And to begin, my first concern is on the issue of sustainability. Now, to begin, if you say you are giving out loans to 70,000 students, how many students do we have in Nigeria? Where is the database of Nigerian students across the public universities? Although the fund is exempting students in the private university to begin, but where is even the database of Nigerian students across public university? That is the question we need to answer to begin. Nigeria is a nation that has a lot of issues and loopholes around database. We need to, structure out our system to begin to make sure that we even have a database. We know the number of students that we have in Nigeria. How sustainable will this be eventually? I've read a lot of, tweets. I've read a lot of, information around this, especially from the MD of this NELFUND. But I have a lot of questions. Now, when you give out loans to students, this loan you say it is interest free. This loan you said that students will begin to pay upon passing out in NYC after 2 years. The first question I ask is, where is the job that they will do? Where's the job that they will do after 2 years? How do you track these students? How do you track them? We don't have, I desire a situation where we have a formidable infrastructure in place first before we rush into this assignment. Let me just begin from there. Where is the infrastructure to manage student populace? They are in diverse. We don't have them, already for now. So I want to recommend that as the the agency of government, because there's nothing we can do about it. The federal government has signed it into law, and the agency of government that is involved in this should begin to pump in, sustained infrastructure to be able to, manage the populace, the student populace in the nation. How many of them are in the university? How many of them do we have in the polytechnic, both federal and state? How many of them will graduate at a particular time? Where would they start? How many of them will go for service? Because it's not all of them that will go for service. Where would they serve? Where are the industries? Where are the infrastructure? Okay. Where is the job they will do after graduation that will enable them to pay? These are questions. These are questions we need to subject to debate before we rush into matters like this, because Nigeria, as it is always very, we don't have a culture of sustaining policies. We don't have it. And we need to readdress this issue of inability to sustain policy before we rush into it. 35 billion is not small. And it is small because Nigeria is rich. So let's start from there. And then we'll begin to, open it up as we go on in the conversation.
Well said, Dr. Femi Epebinu, talking about, the right infrastructure to ensure that, this law, that obviously the act has been passed into law, is sustained in the long run. But let us go on a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue. And my guest, who is a public affairs analyst, Dr. Femi Epebinu, is still on standby. Do stay. And you're still watching Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. And just before the break, we started a conversation on the Nigerian Student Loan Act, obviously student loan law that has been signed by the president. And news reaching us now has it that the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, that is NELFUND, has finalized plan to disburse a total of 35 billion naira in fees and monthly keep-up allowances to about 70,000 successful applicants. And we're discussing the economic implication of all of this moving forward. And I still have my guest, who is Dr. Femi Epebinu, with me on the program. Thank you again, Doctor, for joining us, or for being on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Doctor, before the break, you made reference to, the American system. We have seen, the Americans have and practice, the student loan scheme for a very long time now. Unfortunately, this has left quite a number of young people indebted over time, having to pay back these loans for a long period of time after graduation. And there are concerns, bringing it back home to Nigeria, talking about how education should be uplifting to you rather than, leaving you in a situation where you are indebted after graduation. But what are your thoughts on this? Because unfortunately, we have seen some other countries, have a proper repayment plan that doesn't burden the people. Countries in Latin America, such as Colombia, have a proper working student loan, scheme. So let us hear from you. What are your thoughts, or how would you advise that the Nigerian government does it in such a way that the Nigerian youth is not, burdened to pay back the loan in a short period of time?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we have seen that this system, they have done it in other parts of the world, like the United States, as you mentioned, and as we have read. Now, despite the fact that they have enough capacity in those kind of nations, they still have challenge to for them to manage the situation after graduation of students. That is in the US. Now, here in Nigeria, there are a lot of things we need to do. I've spoken about infrastructure. Another thing is that we need to, do a critical analysis on our culture here. Nigeria, we have a peculiar culture on matters that has to do with loans. We have a peculiar culture on matters that has to do with government policies. Nigerians don't really believe in public policies, because over the years, our government, our leaders, political leaders, they have actually failed the citizens. So my take to the DG or the NELFUND is that as they go ahead with this plan, because it's law, it's already a law, we cannot change it as Nigerians. Now, as they go ahead into this work, they need to put a lot of systems in place. What will drive this policy? What will drive it? How do you change the mindset of Nigerians, especially the students, around public fund? There is a mindset that we have already. That mindset needs to change. We need to reorientate our students. Okay? Now, we need to reorientate the mindset of Nigerians about this loan. The agency of government that is in charge of this loan, they have opened up, they have come into the media, but they need to progressively educate Nigerians. Nigeria is a nation that is occupied by uninformed citizens. Nigerians, we are not informed. Now, so I expect this agency of government to come into the air progressively, whether the print or the broadcast media and the social media, and to begin to educate Nigerians about how they want to run this loan. How are you going to manage Nigerians, students upon graduation, that they will be able to pay back this money? How are you going to manage it? Those are questions that we expect, the agency to subject into a debate. They must do what they call, town hall meetings. They must go into states. They must go into geopolitical zones in the nation. They must go into the university. There's need for them to collaborate with NUC, with Tech Fund, with agency, the unions in the university management system. You understand? So there are a lot that the agency is supposed to do so as for them to be able to assure and reassure Nigerians that this thing will not fail. Because over time, policy of government has not been sustainable. It hasn't been sustainable, and that's where my fear lies.
Plans. You have touched briefly on the repayment plan, but seeing the level of unemployment that Nigeria currently has, I mean, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, about 5% of Nigerians are unemployed, even though some other people would say that the numbers are higher than that. But seeing the levels of unemployment that we are currently faced with, would you say that the repayment is realistic for most graduates?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Speaking about Nigeria of today, I doubt it. And that was why I said the agency of government in charge of this policy should come out to come and defend this policy. They should come and convince Nigerians. They should come and convince students. They should come and convince parents that these are the things that we have. For instance, currently, you look at unemployment rate, and you now want to give out loans to students, saying that 2 years after graduation, they will start paying. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? That's the question. The government need to see. The government of Nigeria, we need to overhaul our educational system. We need to sit down and tell us exactly, bring scholars together and let us know, how do we manage this sector? How do we make this sector productive? How do you make this sector to become a driver to Nigeria economy? We have the population. There are a lot of things that government of Nigeria is supposed to be doing to help Nigerian students. For instance, education. The question I want to ask again now: when you give out this loan, are you going to increase school fees in Nigerian public universities or polytechnics? Currently, the schools are not really paying much. Okay, so when you give out loan, what happens? Are you going to increase tuition? And this agency of government is saying now that the money will only cover tuition. And currently, most Nigerian students are not paying so much in terms of tuition. In terms of tuition, what takes the money of Nigerians goes beyond tuition. It goes beyond tuition. You go into our universities and you see how dilapidated the buildings, the structures are. There has not been attention over the years, no classrooms to have lectures, no lecture theater, okay? Because comparing, the number of students that get admission per time vis-a-vis the infrastructures that are in place. You understand? So we need an holistic overhaul, an holistic visitation to the Nigerian educational system, especially in the higher education. That's my take.
Well said, Doctor. Let us touch now on the policy and implementation. You made a very valid point earlier where you talked about, how there is the exclusion of private institutions in this entire plan. The focus is on government, universities, polytechnics, monotechnics, and the likes. But there are questions as to whether or not this will lead to some sort of inequality, in the access to higher education in Nigeria, seeing that the private institutions are or have been sidelined with regards to the student loan. Do you share in this sentiment?
We already have inequality with the fact that we have, students, the percentage of Nigerian students that go to private university is very, very small. If we look at the level of investment that you need to put in place to sustain a student for 4 years in average in a private university. So we already have inequality because the public system in the nation has not been functioning well. The public university has not been functioning well. Look at the situation between Nigerian public university. Look at the situation with the union and federal government. It has always been challenging. Now, we already have inequality, as I said. When you have a situation where you only give loans to students that are going to public schools, and as I said before, the money they pay in public school in terms of tuition, is very, very small. We have schools in Nigeria that are paying 60,000, 70,000, in terms of tuition. So what takes the bulk of expenses on the life of students is basically our tuition. There are so many other things that students spend money on. So for me, I desire a situation where government respond to those things that students spend money on, okay? And then they fund educational system in the higher education, the public universities. Okay. Now, if you say you are not going to give to students in the private university, yeah, there's inequality already. But the fact remains that people that goes to private universities, they are small in terms of number compared to public institutions. But one thing that is very germane is that government, this agency of government that is in charge, NELFUND, as it is called, they need to do a lot of, information management. I desire a situation where we have the PR of that agency to begin to address the nation on one, how many universities are we going to respond to? How many polytechnics? Where are they? How many students do we have? Where are the demographics? What's the population? Many of them will graduate in a particular year. Where are they going to serve? How many of them can NYC absorb at a time? When they graduate, where are they going to work? All those things we must begin to, drive the media, give us information, give us statistics on how you want to manage this loan post graduation. And so maybe we'll be able to, gain some level of faith and hope on public policy, on public situations. Because over time, public matters in the nation has always been challenging. We have not really had hope on public situation, especially like investing things like this. That's where my challenge lies. That's where my issue lies.
You have, made mention of the United States, time and time again. It's no news that the United States is grappling with, the debt crisis that grew out of the entire student loan scheme. What can Nigeria do differently to ensure that we don't have a repetition of this in Nigeria, considering the rising debt profile that Nigeria already is, suffering? What can we do differently to ensure that we don't end up like the United States?
Now, our case might be different from United States. Now, to begin, United States, despite the fact that they have capacity, uh, they still have issues with management. The country, Nigeria as a nation, we're supposed to understudy our culture. We need to understudy our culture and then push people, scholars, technocrats, people in the educational sector, pull them together and let them sit down and subject this matter into debate. And let's get understanding. Let's look at research into this matter. Let's bring together empirical studies that people have done into this matter, and then we'll now begin to see what can we do to make sure that post graduation of our students, we will not have issues with it. Because if we're going to go with the trend that we have already in the country, definitely I can assure you that students will graduate, okay, with this money, and they won't pay because we don't have systems that will be able to track them for now. They won't pay. We don't have systems that will be able to track them. So, these are the things that I expect this agency of government to first of all invest into, because as far as the media is concerned, as far as the public space is concerned, we have not seen, what they have done in this area, how they want to manage this policy and making it sustainable. And then what happens again when we have a different administration in leadership?
But what will you be
What happens?
proposing? You've mentioned the need for monitoring, the need for verification, accountability, transparency. What would you be proposing that is done by NELFUND?
NELFUND should deploy digital technology strongly in place. Beyond, I've gone ahead to look at their site. The site needs a lot of overhaul. The website of that agency. They should deploy digital technology in place and make sure that they are able to track all Nigerian students per second. All Nigerian students. That's a huge investment. But it's a possibility because the nation has, the financial wherewithal. We have the resources to do that. So if we don't have that, I can assure you that this country, this policy, so NELFUND should work with, NIFC, it's an agency of government, NIFC especially, making sure that all students that are going to get involved in this project or in this policy or in this opportunity get accredited or got signed up with NIFC. They have their NIM, which I think they do. Then apart from that, at the side of NELFUND, they should have enough, digital technology infrastructure in place 24/7 that anybody within the nation and outside the nation should be able to gain access. And they should give us geometry. They should give us, the monitoring, the progression of all of this. If a student apply for loan, in University of Maiduguri, they should make sure that that student cannot apply for loan in another university. Because, Nigerians can be smart, but, technology can outsmart them if we are very smart, if you know what we are doing.
Doctor, you have, mentioned the need for, a collaboration with other government agencies like NIMC, the NCC, where, digitization can be used to ensure that a person doesn't reapply for the loan at, different universities. But let us talk about the issue of inclusion, beyond students in areas such as in urban areas now, but also students in rural areas. There has been quite a number of conversations towards ensuring that people in rural areas also get to benefit from this. Is there a mechanism to ensure that could be put in place to ensure that these that the applicants rather are equally distributed across the nation? That is ensuring that every participant or applicant, comes from urban and rural areas equally.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's very simple. We are in technology age. All the students, that's what I said, all the students in Nigerian university, we should be able to access all of them. NELFUND should be able to have access to all the students in Nigerian university. That is number one. And that is not, it's not rocket science. It could be done. We collaborate with Nigerian universities, public universities, federal, state, polytechnic, colleges of education. It can be done through technology. Now, so there will not be any issue around the fact that whether somebody in the rural village or in the rural community will be able to apply or not. But you see, another issue that is there is this. NELFUND is saying that, because the question I've always been asking, how do you know who is qualified in terms of being an indigent student? Because the policy is saying that they want to, help indigent students. How do you know the indigent student? How do you know student whose parents' capacity does not go beyond 500,000 in a year? It is a possibility. How do we know that? We get to know that through correct infrastructure. That was why I said the nation needs to build the database of information on all Nigerians. When we don't have that, we will have challenge in managing this fund. We will have challenge. We need to, integrate all the information that we have from banks to NIFC. They have started NIFC and immigration now. NIFC, banks, what is it called? Federal road safety, all those things, national ID card, national voters card, all the information that we have. Nigeria should invest, the government should quickly, invest infrastructure to make sure that we integrate all of them. And then we will now be able to know whether a student's parent will have capacity of over 500,000 in a year to be able to benefit from this loan. Because you see, politics in Nigeria is something, again, that we need to understudy in relation to this program. Because when you begin to give out this loan, determining who is an indigent student is a major assignment for the agency of government that is in charge. I hope tomorrow we will not see a political person, a politician, saying that, so number of people in his or her village must be part of, this loan. So these are issues that we need to put in place. I hope the agency of government has actually looked into all of these before they begin to go out to say they want to give out these loans. Okay, so Nigeria is a peculiar environment, but we don't have situation that goes beyond the capacity of humans to manage. We have all it takes as Nigerians. We have scholars, we have intellects in this nation that can manage our situation, provided we don't put politics into everything. So my recommendation to that agency, I speak from here to the MD, to make sure that it does not give room into politics. Once there is a little access of political Nigerian situation into this matter, I can bet you it won't work.
Well
It
said,
won't work.
Dr. Femi Epebinu, who is an educator and a public affairs analyst, speaking to, those so many unanswered questions that we do hope and believe that the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, that is NELFUND, will at some point, answer all of these questions that are on the minds of most Nigerians. Thank you, Doctor, for all the insight you've shared in today's edition of Business Daily.
Thank you so very much, Chiamaka. I hope that we'll still have other opportunity to look at matters like this, especially in the educational sector. It calls for a concern, it calls for attention in the nation.
Definitely, Doctor. Thank you once again. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Business Daily. Join the conversation on social media and let us hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the selection process of the 70,000 successful applicants to benefit from the student loan scheme that has been introduced by the current administration? Join the conversation and let us hear from you. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.